Hey, how's it going, y'all? My name is Shiosity, and we are going to be doing the Talk to Me review.
Yeah, to be honest, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, jump out now, go watch the movie, then come back and watch it whenever, come back and watch this when you're done.
Yes.
So overall, what did you think about the movie, Cooper?
I gotta say, there were some good scenes that definitely scared me. Especially the scene in the bedroom, when the figure moves in the dark, because it's very relatable. You think that there is something in your room, but it turns out just being your clothes or something. But you'd never expect it to be a real person, and that's what makes that so terrifying to me. And then there's some brutal scenes, and that's coming from a Saw fan, so they're brutal. And yeah, not gonna explain it.
Did you enjoy it?
Did I enjoy it? Oh, 100%.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop you fucking lying.
Okay, overall, the movie is basically about some teenagers. They have this hand that they can talk to, and it allows them to talk to people on the other side or the dead. And really, it goes on from there. Basically, they're at a party and are all using the hand. And this one girl who's dealing with the loss of her mother, she, obviously desperately is still trying to find that connection. And she uses the hand and she gets really interested in it. And anyway, obviously, bad stuff ensues. How horror movies go from there. Once you start touching dead stuff, then
I really like how it almost has a meaning about drugs. I feel like it's trying to portray as a meaning. The fact how people try drugs for the first time out of curiosity. They then get addicted to get that high, right? But too much of that can cause bad things to happen, like an overdose or a death or whatever. And we kind of see that in this movie. The more they abuse it, and the more they try to intake of this high that they're getting, it's kind of very similar to how drugs work. And I really like how they try to have that type of meaning to it. I think that was really cool.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to address is the characters. I thought the acting was really great. The lead character, I can't remember what the girl's name was. She was just really engaging, charismatic. The character's name is Mia. But yeah, she was just really great. The dynamic between a lot of the characters, her friend, her friend's boyfriend, the little brother, and the mom. There was all really good character dynamics which they were able to play on in the movie. So when the entity or whatever is actually taking over, it plays on those relationships, and I thought they did a good job of using that as a story plot device.
100%. Riley did great. Joe Bird is the actor's name, and he played the character named Riley. And though Riley might not have had that big of a part in terms of when he was functionable, when he was I guess in his weird coma thing or whatever that was, he was he had a personality that was very not verbal, but very intense.
I would say that the brother, he's a really good foil. Okay, we have a lot of teenage characters who are on different levels of hey, I'm gonna try some kind of thing that's new, and he seems very innocent. So when the stuff really goes down and it starts becoming really dramatic, his character gets harmed obviously, and you really kind of feel bad for him because he seems like one of the good characters in the story that you don't want anything to happen to him. One thing they also notice is that in horror movies, you don't really want anything to happen to these young characters, and that's why we sort of, that's why horror movies in general tend toward younger protagonists, because you don't want to see something happen to kids. If there's a bunch of adults being slaughtered in a movie,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares. It doesn't have the same dramatic weight. But when it's happened to a young person that still has all their life to go, you really feel bad for him, especially when this kid gets hurt. And it's so tense when he actually starts banging his head on the table. It's it's really gripping. More so than a lot of really. There's been more violent things in movies. There's been way more gruesome deaths. But the way they went about it, and in this movie, I thought it was really impressive. All right. One of the things I really liked about the film is the ambiguity, or like how much it didn't really give you. There was a lot of times where the main character is possessed and like she's sort of an unreliable narrator, so we don't know that everything she's seeing is actually true. We don't know how much she's being manipulated by the entity or ghosts. And I just really love movies like that because it forces you to delve deeper in to figure out the plot for yourself and make up your own mind as to what actually was happening. Especially like the scene with like where she gets hit by the car, where it's like we don't know, did she jump out in front of the car? Did the friend push her out in front? It's stuff you have to make up on your own, and I really like movies that force you to think or go back and look at things and try to determine what exactly happened or make up your own mind, because like for every single person that watches, you might have a different interpretation of the end of the film. So I really love movies that do that, and this movie did definitely do that.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing if it doesn't, exactly explain everything. But personally, I'm a fan of movies that explain things. I'm huge on mystery, so I like when there's a huge mystery and then it gets explained at the end. But that's just my, personal preference. A lot of my favorite films are like that. But I can see, why people would like, obviously not knowing what's going on. But they are doing a prequel, so I wonder if that will explain some of the things that happened in this. If there's a possibility of that.
Yeah, like for me, I didn't care where the hand came from or how. Like it's literally just the device that gets you to the point where you want to. Whereas I can see where somebody else might really want to know, well, like how does that work, or where is the actual evidence of like how this thing came into being, or like what happened before. So I totally get your point.
Yeah, no, I'd just love to know, like, where did it come from? Whose hand is it? Is it even, was it created? Like, how old is it? Is this thing like, before BC, or was it, like the 1700s, the 1800s? When was this thing created? That's my question, and I'd love to know more about the history of this mysterious hand.
And going back to the characters and the central character of the story, Mia, like I really loved how the dynamic between the father and like what had happened to her mother, and how there was like that ambiguity there where she didn't really know the how her mother died or what the circumstances were, and her dad was kind of withholding that. Again, the relationships between the characters I think was like near perfect for me. The actual acting in it was really surprising, not really knowing anyone in the film other than the mother of the son and the daughter. I think she was in Lord of the Rings films.
You wouldn't know that.
Marina Richardson is her name, but yeah, she was good. I know I recognized her from first, but I didn't know exactly what. But yeah, I just really, really love the dynamic between the characters. And also the sound design. That's another thing I didn't really talk about, is like the sound, not just the music. And when I'm talking about the sound, I'm talking about like the ad sounds for like when they're doing punches or hits, and like when the guy's hitting his head against the table. The extra sound is like really loud and dynamic, and it's not really what you like. I think usually what you see in films is more subtle use of sound, but this movie felt like it was hitting you like over the head with a sledgehammer with sound design. But I enjoyed it. It helped keep the tension up. Like anytime, even like the film might seem to slow down, they would ratchet up some weird sounds, and that also takes me back to the kangaroo noise, like the dying kangaroo noise, which was so weird to me. I'm like, is that what a dying kangaroo really sounds like? Because it freaked me out.
A cool thing about this movie is that this was actually the first movie that was directed by these two
brothers. The
Philippous. This is their first movie actually directing. They were
started on YouTube.
They started on YouTube, which is really cool and makes it even more impressive. And they also were they were in the Babadook.
Yeah, they were crew members.
They were crew members on the Babadook.
So they've had some experience in movies, but this is their first time leading a feature film, and I thought it was very impressive for your first film to come out of the box and make a really good, unique horror film.
Yeah,
I mean, at least one that I enjoyed. I know you were a little bit less positive on it, but yeah, it was very impressive to me. Like the direction, the acting, the story, all of that seemed to work for me. You want to talk a little bit about the climax? Did you like the end? Like, where did you feel there was a climax?
What do you mean by that?
Me personally, I did not think there was a climax. It seemed like it just ended it didn't really seem like there was like a big scene or anything, or like a big chase, or like, you know, what you typically see in a horror movie. It just ended, and it was like, okay. So that's the end. Nothing else. Okay.
And for me, I like the ending. I like when you do something different. When you start, you know, when you're expecting one thing and they do something else. And also, like, we've seen a million chase scenes and a million final boss fights that wouldn't have really done anything new. In this situation, I really like the idea that, like, hey, you try to figure out what happened. Like, and I do feel like there was a climax. I feel like the death in the road, where she's either pushed out into the road or she jumps, we don't really know. They're very ambiguous about even that. But yeah, I feel like that was definitely the climax, and everything that happened there was kind of like the falling action, where she's like wandering through the hospitals trying to figure out what happened. But yeah, no, it worked for me, and I definitely felt like that was probably the climax. Yeah, but overall, though, I really enjoyed the film. I think the movie will probably end up in one of my top 10 films of the year. I still got a lot of horror movies coming up here in the Halloween season, so we'll see if any of those might jump over that. But to me, it's like, not even for just horror films. It was one of my top films of the year so far, and I really enjoyed it from start to finish.
Sadly, I can't say the same. Not that it's necessarily a bad movie. It's just not really my cup of tea and not really my type of movie. But I will say I can definitely see why someone would like it 100%. And I feel like it deserves, you know, some respect, obviously, for being, you know, an Australian film. It's not, you know, it wasn't Hollywood or anything huge. It was, you know, an Australian film, which makes it unique. And, you know, so that's cool. But yeah, me personally, it's just not really my cup of tea, not really my thing. Like I said, I like movies that have a mystery, that explain the mystery. This didn't really do it for me. Also, the pacing is that's not really what I like. I kind of like more suspense and less just, you know, jump scare after jump scare, thing after thing, you know, scare after scare. But yeah.
I would counter that. Like, yeah, the movie didn't really rely on jump scares. It built a lot of tension, and there was some, like, you know, really heightened scare parts, but it wasn't really necessarily like a jump scare. It would just be like, hey, you know that dread is happening or something's coming, and you're just like, I don't like this, I want to get out of here, rather than a jump scare. And like you said, it doesn't like rise and fall like most horror movies. You know, they'll have like a death scene or a murder, and then it goes back to daytime, and everybody's talking and everything's fine. So it actually literally gives you a chance to breathe. This movie doesn't do anything like that. It like builds on the tension. And even when it's not really tension scenes, they use like stuff like the music and the score and, you know, the dread to actually keep you in suspense. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this has been our review of Talk to Me. We are Shyosity. We're a new channel. We hope you liked our content. You know, we want to hear from you. Did you see the film? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Please comment, like, and subscribe. Share with your friends. And Cooper, anything else you want to add?
I mean, everything he said, you know, like, yeah, if you guys, you know, agree or disagree, let us know in the comments. We'd love to know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see y'all later. Peace. Shyosity out.